Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when noise is no longer progress and presence is no longer power. That moment is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of calling. It's time to disappear. You see, change does not happen on the stage. It happens behind the curtain. The most powerful transformations in life don't begin in public. They begin in the private, silent, and hidden corners of your soul. Disappearance is not about quitting life. It's about quitting distraction. Too many of us are addicted to visibility. We want to be seen, liked, noticed, and followed, but we've never taken the time to follow ourselves. The person you're trying to become is not waiting in applause. It's waiting in isolation. Some of the greatest seeds ever planted were buried, not displayed. When a seed disappears into the ground, it doesn't die, it activates. So must you disappear. Not because you're weak, but because you're becoming strong. Not because you're lost, but because you're about to find purpose. Purpose doesn't speak in crowds. Purpose whispers in solitude. When God is ready to shape a man or a woman for destiny, the first thing he does is remove them from distractions. He hides them. He silences the noise. He puts them in the dark, not to punish them, but to prepare them. If you're in a season of hiding, don't rush it. Don't despise it. Cherish it. This is your cocoon. The version of you that will fly cannot survive the light of this current moment. Something inside of you must die. Your need for approval, your addiction to comfort, your fear of rejection, so that something greater can live. Disappear. Shut down the external and awaken the internal. It's in the quiet where you begin to see, not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. You begin to see what you were born to do. You begin to see who you are always meant to be beneath the roles, the titles, the filters, the expectations. You cannot change your life until you see your life. You don't need another stage, you need a sanctuary. You don't need another follower, you need faith. You don't need to be discovered, you need to disappear until the real you emerges, whole, healed, and ready. And hear me. What you do in the dark, God will reveal in the light. The discipline you cultivate when no one is watching will sustain you when everyone is watching. The unseen seasons will birth an unshakable strength. So if you've been feeling called to pull back, to disconnect, to retreat, obey it. Disappear. Because when you come back, you won't just return, you will arrive. Not as who you were, but as who you were born to be. True change requires isolation because transformation is an internal process, not a public performance. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no validation, no audience. In isolation, you're forced to face yourself without the noise of opinions, without the crutch of distractions, without the mask of performance. You begin to see your flaws not through the lens of criticism, but through the eyes of truth. You confront your habits, your fears, your insecurities. And it is there, in that raw space of solitude, that the foundation for real change is laid. Isolation is where clarity begins to form. It's where you can hear your own thoughts, your own spirit, your Creator's voice without interference. It is in the quiet that purpose rises to the surface. While the world may celebrate visibility, heaven often works in secrecy. The greatest leaders, the most impactful voices, the most authentic callings are formed away from the spotlight. In isolation, you learn who you are without the title, the platform. And when you finally emerge from that place, you are no longer moved by approval or shaken by rejection, because you've built something real on the inside. Change that happens in front of people is usually for them, but change that happens in isolation is for you. That kind of transformation lasts. That kind of transformation speaks, even when you don't. Disappearance is not defeat, it's development. Just because you're no longer visible doesn't mean you're no longer valuable. In fact, it often means you're entering the most crucial phase of your journey. When you disappear, it's not because you failed, it's because you're being formed. The caterpillar isn't dead when it disappears into the cocoon. It's being restructured for flight. Likewise, there are seasons where life pulls you back, hides you, and strips you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you into something stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true identity. In our world, disappearance is often misunderstood. People assume you've given up, lost your way, or fallen behind. But those who understand purpose know that hidden seasons are sacred. They are where the real work happens, the quiet work, the deep work, the kind of work that can't be rushed or broadcast. It's in those unseen moments that your character is refined, your faith is tested, your motives are purified. You begin to unlearn what culture taught you and relearn what destiny has been trying to show you all along. To the outside world, it may look like silence, stillness, even stagnation, but on the inside, there's motion, reconstruction, healing, pruning, preparing. Disappearance doesn't mean the dream has died. It means it's being matured. When you emerge, you carry something weightier than charisma. You carry authority because you've paid the price in private. So never confuse hiddenness with failure. Sometimes the most powerful version of you is being developed when no one sees it coming. You cannot transform in public what wasn't first changed in private, because real transformation is an inside job. It begins where no one can see, in the quiet corners of your heart and mind, in the places only you and God know exist. Public success without private change is hollow. It collapses under pressure because there's no internal structure to support it. Before you can carry vision before people, you have to confront the version of yourself that exists behind closed doors. That's where the lies you've believed, the cycles you've repeated, the fears you've hidden, and the habits you've tolerated are dealt with. The spotlight is not a place for shaping, it's a place for revealing. It will expose what you carry, not fix what's broken. That's why rushing to be seen before you are solid is dangerous. Applause can become an addiction if your identity isn't rooted. Influence can crush you if your character isn't established. Private change is what builds integrity, self-awareness, humility, and discipline. Without it, public platforms only magnify your weakness. In private, there's room to fail safely, to wrestle honestly, to grow slowly. You don't have to pretend, you don't have to perform, and you don't have to protect an image. You can be real. And that's where healing begins. That's where alignment happens, where your actions begin to match your values and your vision begins to match your calling. Then, when the moment comes and you step into public view, you're not just projecting confidence, you're walking in conviction, because the work has already been done in the dark. What you've allowed God to deal with in private will empower you to stand in public, not as a person playing a part, but as someone who's already been changed for real. Your environment must be challenged to evolve, because growth cannot survive in comfort zones. The surroundings that once felt safe can eventually become cages if they no longer support your next level. Every person, habit, conversation, and atmosphere around you either feeds your future or fights it. If you stay in an environment that always agrees with your limitations, you'll never be pushed to rise beyond them. Evolution demands discomfort. It requires you to question what you've always accepted and confront what you've always tolerated. You can't evolve in an atmosphere designed to keep you the same. Sometimes the people around you aren't bad. They're just not built to see the version of you that's trying to emerge. They relate to who you were, not who you're becoming. And if you don't challenge that space, you keep shrinking to fit where you've already outgrown. A stagnant environment creates a stagnant identity. But when you challenge it by changing your routines, raising your standards, seeking new voices, or even walking away, you create friction. That friction is not failure. It's proof that growth is happening. Challenge forces clarity. It makes you ask hard questions. Why am I still here? What am I afraid to leave behind? What's keeping me small? And in those questions, you begin to unlock a new level of awareness and urgency. The moment you disrupt the pattern, the process of transformation begins. You don't just evolve by dreaming, you evolve by daring to disturb what's familiar. Because until you confront your environment will control your evolution. Purpose is discovered in stillness, because the noise of life often drowns out the voice of direction. We live in a world that equates movement with meaning and busyness with value, but the deepest answers don't shout. They whisper. And to hear them, you must be still. Stillness isn't inactivity. It's intentional awareness. It's where you stop running from yourself long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to say. It's where the distractions fall away and you're left face to face with truth. Not performance, not expectations, not roles, just truth. In stillness, you begin to notice what truly matters. You begin to feel again, not just react. You begin to sense divine nudges, patterns, and desires that have been buried under the weight of doing. It's in that sacred quiet where clarity begins to emerge. Not all at once, but layer by layer. The confusion that once clouded your mind starts to lift. Not because the world changes, but because you finally paused long enough to see. Stillness allows purpose to rise to the surface. Not because you forced it, but because you made space for it. You stopped performing and you started listening. You stopped chasing and you started aligning. Purpose is not something you manufacture. It's something you uncover. And like anything precious, it doesn't show itself in chaos. It waits for the calm, the pause. The moment when you finally decide to go inward instead of outward. That's where it's found. That's where it speaks. And when it does, it changes everything. Not just what you do, but how you live. Reinvention requires death of the old self, because you cannot step into a new identity while clinging to an outdated version of who you were. Real transformation isn't just about adding new habits or chasing new goals. It's about letting go of the mindset, behaviors, and attachments that were tied to a season that no longer serves you. The old self is often built on survival, approval, fear, and familiarity. But the new self, the one aligned with purpose, requires freedom, truth, and courage. And that freedom doesn't come without loss. Something has to die so something greater can live. Letting go isn't easy, because the old self gave you comfort. It gave you predictable patterns, familiar responses, even validation from people who benefited from your limitations. But if you want to become who you truly meant to be, you must be willing to bury the image, the identity, and even the story you've been telling yourself for years. You cannot carry both transformation and denial at the same time. Reinvention demands honesty. It forces you to confront who you've been and ask, is this still true? Is this still me? The death of the old self is not a punishment, it's a release. It's a sacred surrender. You are not discarding your past. You are shedding what no longer fits. Just like a snake must shed its skin to grow, you must release outdated beliefs and roles to expand. Reinvention is not about pretending to be someone else. It's about returning to who you always were, beneath the layers of fear and conditioning. And that process is not instant. It is painful, sacred, and necessary. Until the old dies, the new cannot breathe. And the life waiting for you on the other side of that death is far greater than anything you've had to leave behind. God often prepares leaders in obscurity because greatness is never built on display. It's built in the hidden places where no one is watching and no one is applauding. Before God reveals a person to the world, he refines them in silence. It is in the quiet, unseen seasons that character is forged, motives are tested, and foundations are strengthened. Obscurity may feel like delay, but it is actually design. It's not punishment, it's protection. God hides you because what he is building in you is too important to be exposed too soon. In obscurity, you learn to hear God without the noise of public opinion. You learn to obey without the need for recognition. You begin to walk in integrity, not image. Leadership without this kind of preparation becomes shallow and fragile, easily shaken by pressure, easily swayed by popularity. But when you've been shaped in the secret place, you carry something different. You're not leading from ego, but from encounter. You're not motivated by applause, but by assignment. You've learned how to trust God's timing, not rush your own. Every major figure in Scripture, Moses, David, Joseph, even Jesus, was first taken into seasons of obscurity before being revealed. Why? Because visibility without maturity is dangerous. Influence without intimacy leads to collapse. So when God pulls you back, when he hides you, when he strips away platforms and praise, it's not because he's forgotten you, it's because he's forming you. And when the time is right, what he's cultivated in the dark will not only survive the light, it will lead in it. What you build in the dark will shine in the light, because the work done in silence is what gives you strength when the spotlight finally arrives. The dark is not a place of delay, it is a place of development. It's where you learn consistency without recognition, discipline without applause, and commitment without an audience. In the dark, no one sees the long nights, the quiet sacrifices, the painful pruning, or the battles you fight within. But that's where real success is born. Not in the moment you're seen, but in the years you were overlooked. The dark seasons are not empty, they're essential. That's where your roots grow deep. That's where your intentions are purified and your foundations are laid. Because when the light comes, when the doors open, the platform expands and people finally take notice, it will be too late to prepare. What you did in the unseen moments is what will sustain you in the visible ones. If you skip the process in the dark, the light will expose your weakness. But if you embraced the silence and stayed faithful to the process, the light will reveal your strength. Not about being perfect. It's about being proven. The unseen labor refines your gift, your character, and your voice. The light doesn't make you powerful. It simply reveals the power that was built in obscurity. That's why it's never wasted time when you're hidden, unseen, or uncelebrated. You're building something eternal, something real, something weighty. And when your season of revealing comes, it won't be a performance. It will be the natural overflow of who you've become when no one was watching. Isolation is the soil of intimacy with destiny, because it's in those quiet, solitary moments that you begin to truly connect with your deepest purpose. It's easy to be distracted by the noise of the world, by the demands of others, and by the constant rush of life. But destiny doesn't speak in chaos, it speaks in stillness. When you isolate yourself from external influences, you create space for your true calling to take root. It's in the solitude that you come face to face with the truth of who you are and what you're meant to do. In isolation, you can no longer hide behind the roles that society has given you. You can no longer let the world define you by its standards. Instead, you confront your own fears, doubts, and desires without the filter of expectations. You begin to hear the whispers of your purpose clearly, without interference, without distortion, without pressure. It's in that sacred space where God can speak to you directly, where you can wrestle with your identity and your vision, and where you can embrace the call that's been there all along. Just as a seed needs to be buried in the soil to grow, your destiny needs the stillness of isolation to be nurtured. The quiet is where you can hear the voice of your Creator, the voice that reminds you of who you were made to be and what you were made to accomplish. In this solitude, you shed the false identities and distractions, and you begin to align with your true purpose. Isolation is not abandonment. It's a sacred preparation. The deeper the roots grow in isolation, the stronger you will stand when the world sees you. It's not about how many people are around you or how much attention you get. It's about how intimately you know your own purpose, how closely you walk with it, and how deeply it has been shaped in the quiet. When you emerge from isolation, you will carry a strength that can't be taken away because it was forged in the soil of solitude. You don't change your life by being seen, you change it by seeing. It's not the applause, the followers, or the recognition that transforms you. It's the clarity of vision and understanding of your true purpose that shapes your future. So many people spend their lives chasing visibility, trying to be noticed, trying to be validated by others, thinking that this will be the key to their transformation. But the truth is, your life begins to change not when you are seen by the world, but when you begin to see yourself clearly without the distortions of others' expectations, judgments, or projections. True transformation starts when you stop looking outward for answers and start looking inward. When you take the time to examine your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, and your desires, you begin to see who you really are. Not who the world wants you to be, not who you've been conditioned to believe you are, but who you were created to be. This kind of seeing is powerful. It's an awakening, a revelation. It's about looking at the landscape of your life with honesty, accepting the truth of where you are, and envisioning where you want to go. Seeing your life clearly means understanding your purpose and aligning your actions with your deepest values. It means recognizing the habits, mindsets, and relationships that no longer serve you and letting go of them. It means seeing the opportunities that you once overlooked because you were too busy chasing external validation. When you begin to see yourself and your path with clarity, you stop wasting energy on things that don't align with your true purpose, and you start focusing on what truly matters. Being seen is temporary, it's fleeting, and often based on external factors that can shift and change. But when you begin to see with vision, you unlock the power to change your life from the inside out. The ability to see your true self, your potential, and your purpose is what will guide you toward lasting transformation. You don't need the world's approval to change your life. You need the courage to see yourself as you truly are and the wisdom to act on that vision. When you see your true path, the world will eventually see the results of your transformation. But it all starts with your own ability to look inward and see with clarity. The journey of transformation is not about being seen by others, but about seeing yourself clearly and authentically. It's about disappearing from the noise, allowing yourself the space to evolve in the quiet, and confronting the parts of yourself that need to be shed. True change happens when you're willing to challenge your environment, embrace the silence, and face the death of the old self. It's when you allow yourself to be refined in obscurity and know that what you build in the dark will one day shine in the light. And above all, it's about understanding that your purpose is discovered not in the spotlight, but in the stillness. So as you go forward, remember this. You don't need external recognition to transform. You need to see yourself with clarity, with courage, and with conviction. The moment you truly see yourself, who you are made to be, and the path you are meant to walk, is the moment everything changes. And when you step into that vision, you will not only change your own life, but you will change the world around you. So disappear, evolve, and become the person you are always meant to be. Your destiny is waiting for you to step into it, and it all begins with seeing the truth of who you are. The world will be waiting, but more importantly, you will be ready.